Greetings, dear children. Today we are going to learn the poetry I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou for grade 10 ICSE students, batch 2024. Hope you have textbook and keep a pen with you so that you can make a note of important points. Before we begin the poetry, let's look at the poetess of the poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Maya Angelou, a powerful feminist, author, poet, civil rights activist, who worked closely with Martin Luther Jr. and Malcolm X. She had an extremely traumatic childhood, and her poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, written in 1969, tells her life up to the age of 17. This poem is seen as an autobiographical representation of the condition she and her community was in. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. We see that it is an extended metaphor. Throughout the poem, we see the use of two birds, free bird and caged bird. The free bird represents the privileged section of the society, whereas caged bird signifies underprivileged. Important point, you can make a note. Free bird, privileged section, and caged bird, underprivileged. The slavery and segregation of the African Americans are compared to the condition of caged bird, and the free bird refers to the freedom enjoyed by the white Americans. Let's look at the first stanza. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. The first stanza is totally talking about a free bird. The poem begins by referring to the flight of a free bird. First stanza deals with the flight of a free bird, who springs free from the ground to fly in the direction of the air current till the current ends. It looks as if the bird had immersed his wings in the orange rays of sun covering the sky, and what does he do at the end? He claims that the sky is mine. He dares to claim the sky. Let's look at the poetic devices. We see that the first line, it's metaphor, free bird, white rays. Then back of the wind, here it refers the poetic device personification. Orange sun rays, that means the setting of the sun, and the sky is full of orange color, visual imagery, and dares to claim the sky is hyperbole. A few words are there in the first stanza. Description is made lively by using a few verbs such as leaps, floats, here it is, leap, floats, dips, dares. These terms are the qualities of freedom. Qualities of freedom are highlighted using the verbs leap, floats, dips, dares. So first stanza, flight of free bird is being described. Let's look at the second stanza. But the second stanza begins with the conjunction but. The term but is used for contrast to the first stanza, which was totally spoken about free bird. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. Here we see the condition or plight of caged bird. The second stanza describes the condition of the caged bird, who is constantly watching down his cage. So down in his narrow cage, he is there in the narrow cage. Standing in the narrow cage, can seldom see, is not able to see the sky through the bars of rage. He can almost never see through the bars of that rage. His vision is limited because he is caged up. What happened to his movement? His wings are clipped. Why he is not able to see the sky? Because his wings are clipped and his feet are tied. He is enslaved to such an extent that his wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So in this condition, what can he do? He can only do one thing, that is he can sing. So what does he do? He opens his throat to sing. Let's look at the words here. The words talks, narrow cage, bars of rage, clipped, feet are tied. All these words give a picture of lack of freedom. The quality is highlighted here, lack of freedom. The first stanza we have seen a few words that list out the qualities of freedom. Here, lack of freedom of the caged bird is highlighted through these words. The caged bird sings as he is in a cage. So he expresses his limitations through his singing. It's a cry, his wail it is. Let's look at the poetic device used here. Imagery, narrow cage. When we use the word narrow cage, we can just imagine. So it's a imagery. Poetic device used here is imagery. The next stanza, the continuation of second stanza it is. So the second stanza we have seen that the only one thing the caged bird can do is singing, because we have seen that his wings are clipped and feet are tied. So what does he do? He opens his throat to sing. Now what does he sing? The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of unknown things, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill. For the caged bird sings of. The caged bird sings. How does he sing? With fearful trill. Fearful trill. What does he sing? Things unknown. The question comes as what does he sing? Things unknown. He doesn't know about freedom. Still he sings up. Still he wanted to enjoy freedom. But longed for still, has been longing to get it. And his tune is heard. Where is it heard? Distant hill is the answer. It is heard on the distant hill. And what does he sing? First, already we have seen the third line, things unknown, and the second point is sings of freedom. 2 points are there. What does he sing? How does he sing? Answer is fearful trill. Where the sound is heard, where the song is heard, answer is it is heard on the distant hill. Let's look at the poetic devices in this stanza. Irony is used here. Usually we expect the bird who is having freedom sings, but here contrast to that, the caged bird is singing, not the free bird as we expect. So the poetic device used here is irony. So how does he sing? With a fearful trill. The trill, the sound, that is auditory imagery. Auditory, that comes under imagery, auditory imagery. So the words in the stanza, fearful, trill, make us realize that a desperate cry for freedom, important point, a desperate cry for freedom, leaving the readers empathetic for the caged bird. So the bird is trapped, and we know that it meant to be a metaphor for the human beings oppressed in an unjust society. Certainly applying this metaphor to the poetess life and the oppression she has witnessed as an African American. In fact, the poetess voices the pain of all who suffer from slavery of one kind or the another. Let's look at the fourth stanza. Here again talking about a free bird. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his home. So these are the two stanzas, first stanza and this stanza. These are the two stanzas which totally describes about the free bird and the freedom it enjoys. Here in this stanza, what does the free bird think of? Two answers are there. Another breeze still sighing trees, fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn. These are the two answers. What does he think of another breeze? Another breeze means a different direction it can move. However it wants, it can move. Think of another breeze. This breeze, how does it move? It moves through the sighing trees. Wind, we know that no limitation, no restriction, no hindrance. It can move however it goes through the trees. The trees are sighing. Personification is used there. Poetic device. Tree, inanimate object, is given human-like qualities. So the trees are sighing, breathing, making sound. So personification it is. Then trade winds soft through the sighing trees. That is personification is used. And what does the bird think of? The second point, fat worms. Fat worms here refers to wealth, resource, opportunities that the white Americans had. They were having. They were privileged to have all this. That means it has a choice of food, whereas the caged bird, it is limited. Waiting on a dawn bright law. That means wherever it goes, it can have the freedom, and it refers to fat worms, here refers to wealth, resource, opportunities that the white people have. The words breeze and fat worms represent hope and opportunity as well. And what does he do at the end? He names the sky his own. What does he do in stanza 1? He claims, that's the difference. He claims it is his sky. It's mine. The sky belongs to me. Here he names it. We can claim and name. Claim means, yes, I can claim that the particular thing is mine. But we name it means it's my own. It doesn't belong to other category. So here, what does he do is he names the sky his own. The poetic device used is hyperbole. Let's look at the next stanza. The fifth stanza depicts the bird in its cage, the cage that has now become the grave of birds' dreams. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. Grave is a symbol of death and is rather grim. So what does he do? Since his wings are clipped, feet are tied, his shadow is shouting. That is personification. Poetic devices, personification, at the same time alliteration as well, repetition of consonant sound. Shadow shouts. On a nightmare scream, the sound auditory imagery is used here. Since the shadow is a shouting, shadow of the bird is a shouting, it doesn't have anything left on the body, only the sound. It is using just to sing. The content of the song is freedom. The tone of the poem here shifts to one of despair. Here the dreams of caged bird are killed by its inability to experience freedom. It is limited. The poetess affirms the idea that the caged bird's desire for freedom cannot be contained. So nightmare scream, grave of dreams, all these are giving hint that freedom cannot be contained. That is also one of the poetic devices. It is foreshadowing. It is called foreshadowing. Getting a hint what is going to happen. So through the words grave of dreams, nightmare scream, shadow shouts, tells us that the bird's desire for freedom cannot be contained. Since the wings are clipped, feet are tied, what does he do? He opens his throat to sing. What does he sing? We have already learned in stanza 3. What does he sing? Continuation, the last stanza. The final stanza we have already learned, it is the repetition of the third stanza, which emphasizes the distressing condition of the caged bird. Note the point, distressing condition of the caged bird, that is in general and in particular the distressed condition of the downtrodden people. In general, the distressed condition of the caged bird, and in particular here it is distressed condition of the downtrodden people. The poet has repeated the third stanza again here. Why is it repeated? To emphasize the distressed condition of the downtrodden people. The poet wants this part of the poem to be remembered. This is the condition. Even though the bird has been caged, he still has hope that one day he will be like the free bird. having freedom and happiness, flying high in the sky, having freedom and happiness. This is the message that the poet wanted to portray, that everyone, each and everyone will have the same rights and equality. So once again repeating here, fearful trill, the poetic device is auditory imagery. What does the bird, how does the bird sing? With fearful trill is the answer, fearful. How does he sing? And what does he sing? Two places answer. Things unknown. He doesn't know. Unknown it is. Freedom is unknown to the bird. Still he longs for, but longed for. So when he sings where the tune is heard, it is heard on the distant hill. What does he sing? He sings of freedom. Now let us look at the poetic devices. Caged bird represent those who lack freedom. Here it is African American. Cage is representing the society, that is a physical barrier or fear. Bars of rage, it is a form of imprisonment. Bird's song is representing the cries for freedom. Breeze and fat worms, hopes and opportunities. Some other poetic devices, juxtaposition, one of the most important poetic devices used here, juxtaposition, which means placing side by side, contrast it is, or comparison. We have seen that from beginning till end, a comparison, comparing two birds, free bird and caged bird. And the poetic device used is juxtaposition. That is, free bird opposite the caged bird, the white people versus African Americans, the black race. The next poetic device is alliteration, repetition of consonant sounds. It is used in 2-3 places here. Example, seldom see, repetition of consonant sound. Sir sound is repeated. The second one is worms waiting, verse sound. Worms waiting. Then shadow shouts. Sure sound is repeated. So what tone the poem is in? What is the tone used in the poem? The answer key words are sad, depressed. It also has the signs of never-ending hope held by the caged bird. The theme of the poem, freedom versus enslavement, racism and slavery, voice against oppression. So these are the themes highlighted in the poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So when a question is asked about theme, these are the key answers: freedom versus enslavement, racism and slavery, voice against oppression. And you are asked to write a justification or an explanation about each theme. If it is 4 marks question, 2 points plus each point 1 justification to be written. Thank you, children. Hope you like the video. I have tried to complete within 20 minutes so that it would be helpful for you to have a quick revision before your test and exams. If you have any query regarding this poetry, this video, you can just mention it or write it in the comment box. We'll have a live session, depends upon the queries. Thank you.